Hi, this is Big Papa Grump from the Board of Doom, and today I'm going to be talking about my 5 current favorite WWE wrestlers. Now, I'm going to keep this list confined to the realm of WWE because I'm not the world's biggest Impact Wrestling guy. I don't watch enough Lucha Underground or watch enough New Japan to really consider myself schooled well enough on these people. So for me to throw Ethan Carter or Eli Drake or Bobby Lashley or Kenny Omega or the Young Bucks or Okada on any of these lists, or Ricochet, would not be fair. It would, it would just be me talking out of my ass, which is what I'm doing anyways. But at least if I keep it to WWE, I watch enough that I can feel safe in my characterization of these guys. So I'm going to keep it to WWE, and I'll let the other guys on the board handle the rest of the universe. So we're going to start with Finn Balor. Now, I was vaguely familiar with Prince Devitt. I was not, I like a lot of people, watch stuff on YouTube. Like, hopefully you are now. And so I knew what I knew of the guys from New Japan based on clips from YouTube, which is not exactly the greatest way to watch unless you want to sit down and watch full matches. So, but I knew who Prince Devitt was. So when he came to WWE, when I read that they signed him, I was like, that's a good signing. Shame they're going to waste him. They did not. At least not yet. His NXT run was great. His matches against Owens, his match against Shinsuke, his match against Zayn, his matches against Samoa Joe, just absolutely brilliant matches, and especially for that level. And it was during that time. Now, I was a little late to the NXT train. I started watching NXT while Balor was still champ, but I wasn't watching it as regularly as I do now. And from there, but I went back and I watched every single episode. I binged it. I have no life. When he got called up to the main roster, was absolutely thrilled, being selected in the first segment. I guess he was the third pick. I guess he was the third pick for Raw, and then immediately put into a program for the Universal Championship. It was really cool to see him win that Fatal 4-Way because of the talent that was involved. And then, to my surprise, they put him over against Reigns. And not to my surprise, they put him over against Rollins. Really, the only time I actually thought he was going to win was that match at SummerSlam. And the disappointment that followed when he had to give up the championship. Trust me, I felt along with all the other newly acquired Balor fans. I don't think I've ever seen him put on a bad match through NXT or during his current run on the main roster. He's been fine since he came back. Had that little concussion stumble. I'm going to blame Jinder Mahal just because they want me to hate him, so I'll just do what they say. Next guy on my list, again, as you could tell from my wardrobe in past videos, Kevin Owens. Again, I was familiar with who Kevin Steen was, seeing clips on YouTube, and because ROH is kind of hit or miss to find on television, and so especially when Steen was there, was way harder to find, at least on my cable network. So, but I knew who he was. I knew who El Generico was. And I had heard, their feud was legendary. And then again, you read that WWE signed Kevin Steen. I'm like, that is awesome. That is another good pickup. And he has not disappointed. From his first match at TakeOver R Evolution to the end of that event when he, attacked Sami Zayn, to him beating Zayn down, and Zayn had to give up to relinquish the championship. Could not continue, and then his feud with Zayn, his feud with Balor, his feud with Cena when he came up to the main roster. He was a badass, legit, conniving, opportunistic badass. I was just absolutely And first of all, let me take a quick side moment. The ladder match at WrestleMania where he inevitably lost the Intercontinental Championship, where he took the bump that put him out of the match and he laid there like a corpse. It was great. It was one of my favorite things he ever did. Along with his you can find the GIF all over the internet of him mocking Enzo's little foot shuffle dance. Two of my favorite Owens moments. And then he gets the Universal Championship. I am marking out on my couch because I love me angry, bitter Kevin Owens. And then they write him and book him horribly. Now that he doesn't have the championship anymore, and we'll leave the title loss to Goldberg out of the conversation. And he's back to vicious, angry face of America. I do kind of like that, though. But I love me some Kevin Owens. And he is an absolute god on Twitter. Holy crap, that dude is funny. Next one on the list is the former Claudio, now Cesaro. From the moment he debuted as the yodeling Swiss guy who could speak many languages alongside Oksana, you could tell once he wrestled that this dude's special. Now, if you knew who he was before, which I really did not, then you knew all that. You knew they had to push this guy. And then, he wins the United States Championship. And you're like, this guy is going to hold the title for a while, and then they're going to push him to the main event because this guy's got it. Unfortunately, he's been booked horribly off and on throughout his career. Being a Paul Heyman guy, not a great idea. As fun as We the People was, the Real Americans, just, again, it did more to stall his push than it did to help his push. He's done pretty much everything he needs to do. His tag team with Tyson Kidd was great. His little runs in NXT, his wrestling against Sami Zayn were just brilliant matches. His Best of 7 series against Sheamus harked back to the olden days when Magnum TA, Nikita Koloff, Best of 7 for the U.S. title in the old NWA. It was a great little callback. Then putting them together as a tag team seemed like a really good move. Then it kind of stalled. Then it got good again. Then it stalled. And now they're heels, and we're looking at potentially getting new life. Unfortunately, we haven't seen him in the main event scene yet. He's had brief glimpses of getting to the main event. He's been in a few number one contender matches and qualifiers and stuff like that, but he isn't quite there yet. And hopefully, someday soon, the powers that be behind the scenes will see fit to include him in the main event scene very soon, because that guy has future world champion written all over him. Does need to work on his promos a little bit, but they're even getting better. So the dude's almost ready to be the guy. Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss isn't the best in the ring. She isn't the best on the mic. But she is far enough ahead of enough people on the roster right now, especially given the position she's given, that she has taken the ball, she's run with it. She, much like Charlotte, her in-ring body language and facial expressions are absolutely just spot on. Her in-ring ability, just every time she wrestles, she's getting better and better and better. She's owning her character like nobody else on the roster, except for maybe The Miz and Braun Strowman, possibly. And she's leaps and bounds ahead of where she was when she debuted on the main roster as far as her mic work. She's way better whenever it seems like she's kind of riffing it, as opposed to when she's trying to try to spew out memorized dialogue. But she's even getting better at that. Next on the list, and this is going to make Golden Boy very happy, as much as I love Alexa Bliss for multiple reasons, Charlotte Flair, I've said it before, is not only the top of the women's division, she deserves to be in the top 10 wrestlers on the roster right now. She's her promo work, especially as a heel, we'll see how she does as a face this time around, but her promo work as a heel was just brilliant. Her in-ring work is great. The way she sells for people, her moveset is just great. The moonsault is pretty, even if it doesn't always land on the person. I blame the other person. Curse them for getting out of the way. Her feud with Sasha Banks was just great. No one on the roster right now, especially in the women's division, is a better worker than Charlotte Flair. She does everything. Her just facial expressions are brilliant. Her body language during a match is just spot on. And, you know, the way she talks trash, usually right before she does something to cost herself a match, but it's still, again, it's a brilliant little bit of in-ring acting for her. And right now, there's nobody does it better, especially in the women's division, than Charlotte Flair. And I would argue that there are very few people who do it better on the entire roster. Those are my current 5 favorites. I'm not saying that that's not a list of the 5 best wrestlers or the 5 best mic workers. They're just the 5 people I enjoy watching on Raw and SmackDown the most. I mean, I could easily have added Jericho to that list, or right now I'm really digging Strowman. And, you know, so the list goes on and on as to who I think is doing. And that's not to say that anybody else on the list doesn't deserve any kind of praise, and I usually try to do that during the recaps. But but yeah, hey, it's my list. I've been Big Papa Grump. This has been the Board of Doom. That's been my list of my 5 favorite current WWE main roster superstars, and I will see you next time.